And we're back. Stripe Show podcast on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for tuning in. We have turned the corner. It's time for a little FedEx Cup Playoffs. Top 70 are in Memphis, where it's 127 degrees. It's going to be hot, humid. The ball's going to be flying. Birdies, TPC, south wind. To get you ready, I bring my man in. Read the line, Keith Stewart. How are you, sir?
I am well. I'm looking forward to this playoff run. I think the unintended consequences of the top 70, along with three great venues, is going to provide some super theater. And the big three are playing like big three. So should be fun.
Yeah, it is going to be fun. And, of course, the new schedule came out for the PGA Tour next year. We'll get into that to a later date. Got to finish up this year, because remember, you get that little 1 week window and then the season starts again. Like you just get, refresh your batteries a little bit. I'm excited to get the crew back together. Top 70 are in Memphis, and then it goes down to 50, and they'll move on to the BMW Championship, Olympia Fields, right there in Chicago, and then down to 30, where the Tour champ just up the road from me at in Atlanta there, East Lake. So a lot to play for. There's a lot of money out there. Live Golf catching a little momentum last week. Bryson shooting 58. That was insane. They're playing this week as well, just right down the road from you there at Bedminster. Yeah.
You know what? I saw this on Twitter. I got to give credit to my buddy, Rick Gaiman. He always puts out great stats. And he just throws this out there too, which made me really laugh. Was that Bryson's 58 was the 22nd best strokes gained round by a professional in 2023.
22nd
best of any pro. Imagine
how.
So I think, well, it's just people play harder golf courses and they shoot low scores.
Yeah.
Against a field that obviously is doing different things. Remember, strokes gained is a comparison stat. So I think.
So you're saying it played easy.
No, I'm saying that post said it played very easy. Yes.
Oh. Yeah.
Implied.
I can't take anything away from a 58. I just can't.
No.
I don't care. I don't care where you're playing. Love or hate Bryson. I mean, that is an insane round of golf. Let me say this. We'll just start there and then we'll get into it, because I've got a couple things on Lucas Glover too.
All right.
Bryson looks like he's back trying to be the best golfer that he can be again, rather than how far he can hit it off the tee. And that was one of the things, whether he was playing for Live or PGA Tour, he took the world by storm there with how far he was hitting it. He wins the U.S. Open, et cetera, et cetera. The question was it great for his game long-term, great for his body, his well-being, et cetera, et cetera? And I didn't really think it was. I thought he kind of got away from other parts of his game, but particularly his short game. And now it looks like he looks good, feels good. There's more precision in his game. What he's doing with Dana Dahlquist, who will be on next week on the podcast, there's more precision in the face, distance control, his short game, touch, the nuance, the finesse. And people forget, I mean, Bryson's one of the best putters in the world.
Oh, yeah.
So you get that distance, his new driver, and now you start putting a little precision to it. The question, how well will he sit in the locker room with the rest of the team at the Ryder Cup? But right now, I'd have a hard time keeping Bryson off that team.
Really?
Yeah, I would.
Come on.
No, I would.
Really?
Yeah. What, are you going to put JT on there?
No. Definitely.
You got to look at his body of work. His last month of golf he's playing some serious golf. You can't question Bryson's pedigree. Like, you can't question how great of a player he was in college. How great of a player he was on the PGA Tour. I mean, he was, he won multiple times. He's a major champion winner. Does he go down the wrong rabbit hole from time to time and annoy the daylights out of you? Yeah, he does. But a focused Bryson, distance control, iron game, I can putt. I don't worry about that. Yeah, Yeah, I'm fine with it if it plays well in the locker room. Now, I don't know how he plays well in the locker room. I'm gonna have an idea, but on the golf course, I'd be fine with it.
Sam Burns
Does
or Bryson,
that
right?
surprise you? Does that surprise you?
No, I just hey, I picked Bryson, or I wrote him up at Read the Line to win
Yeah.
the Open Championship.
Yeah.
So like
Right.
I've been paying attention to what's been going on there. I don't know. Maybe there is a live bias. Maybe there
Of course there
truly
is.
is. You
Of
know,
course there is.
we all think that they're inferior golf courses, but a 58's a 58. You know, at
Damn
the end
right
of
it
the day,
is.
you know,
Damn
what
right
was
it
he?
is.
He was what, second at Valderrama, 13th in London. He just won this one, shooting what, 0 on the
Yeah.
what, 119 on the weekend.
I mean, that's insane.
119.
61.58 is insane. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm overstating it. If you follow me, you know I've been critical of Bryson at times, but
Food for
look,
thought.
it is what it is. I look at things objectively, and right now when I watch Bryson play, the discussion, you're gonna put JT over Bryson on the
No.
golf course. Now I get it in the locker room. I think JT can elevate and do those things, but JT's iron game's a mess too. Like he's nowhere near the version with his irons as we've seen with JT, and his putter can't be trusted. So anyway, let's talk about a resurgence in putting for a second, because Lucas Glover, I think, is one of the best stories of the year. I really do. I think it's one of the best stories of the year.
Yeah.
It's a story of perseverance. It's a story of fight, grit. I mean, this is a guy that's shown up to tournaments for years and years and years, and in his mind, he knows he's a good enough ball striker to win, but he has no chance in hell to win because he can't putt. I mean, that's just the reality, right? So can you imagine how much that weighed on him? And so now this new model putter, this new style, and by God, I sat here and I talked about it and I preached him up to you. There's a pulse. I like what I see with Lucas Glover. I took him at the 3M. He missed a cut. And for whatever reason in my brain, I feel like I can't take the same guy the next week. And I didn't take him and I didn't bet him. Here he is. He wins.
You know, that's like a something I preach all the time. And I did it with Wyndham at Mexico and then Wells. And I also loved Glover going into the 3M. But then I pulled back myself at Wyndham, which goes against what I'm saying there. But I was like, well, maybe the putter just isn't quite ready yet. And Donald Ross, that golf course was going to be a super heavy putter golf course. Man, the guy got it done. You got to give that guy all the credit in the world, because you're right. I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Keeps doing the same thing and expect a different result. And he did it for 10 years with the putter, and it never worked. And, you know, I've walked a lot of golf courses and seen a lot of play this year. And I'm about to go back out on the road next week for 2 more weeks to finish off the playoffs. And that guy flushes it. We talk about it all the time. That guy is an absolute stripe show. I'm always joking about it's great to be honest. That guy lives a stripe show.
Oh, he does.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. That's why I say it had to be so frustrating to know that you're one of the elite ball strikers. He is. He always has been. He doesn't get enough credit. His putter overshadows it. And he doesn't get enough credit how good he is. I would say tee to green. His short game's not that bad. But man, he gets on the green and it's almost, you start getting the yips and that, man, I tell you, that is, and you're playing golf for a living. I got all the respect in the world for that guy. And he's a great guy. He really is. I mean, the situation that happened in Ponte Vedra with his wife and the 911 call and, and all the jokes with that, and, she was going to beat his ass or whatever, I think that put a little cloud over Lucas, a little bit, like,
could be.
But the reality is, I think Lucas is a guy that, I'd go have a beer with, and hang out and just talk golf. I think he'd be interesting to listen to in the grind. I've always liked Lucas Glover. I was super pumped that he got in the winner's circle. It was just 1 week too late, and it's another lesson learned from me. Just get right back on him. You've touted him the week before. You talked me out of it, so I'm blaming it on you because of the Donald Ross greens. But
talk myself out of it,
because just get right back on him, because it's. You could see it. I could sense it. Like the momentum was building. Like it was there. And it wasn't like it's not something that feels temporary. It feels like he's gotten rid of the tremors and now he's hitting the ball where he's looking. And so now he's just getting feedback every time and making subtle adjustments rather than worrying about whether or not he's going to come out of his shoes when he hits it.
All right, let's get right into it then.
All right.
Okay. Can Lucas pull off a Celine Boudier, right? She's won the last 2 weeks on the
Why not?
LPGA Tour, right? Last year, Lucas, Southwind, top 5 finish.
Yep.
Even with the faulty putter.
Yep.
Right? I mean, you got to give Lucas Glover credit. Guy's got 500 plus PGA Tour starts and a US Open with a serious flaw to his game. So, I mean, can he do it 2 weeks in a row? He said he loves this golf course. I mean, it's a ball striker's paradise, par 70. We're going to get into it, but I mean, you going to go glove man 2 weeks in a row?
No. No. Well, I didn't go 2 weeks in a row. If I did, I would have made a hell of a lot more money.
True.
What do you think of this place? Par 70, 7,200 yards, not real long, water on 11 holes. Man, you got the Bermuda. This is real Bermuda grass here, folks. It's hot in Memphis. A lot of shots from 150, 175, 175 to 200. The ball's going to be flying. Driving distance, you see, kind of goes up a little bit, but the accuracy's down. Guys tend to miss more greens here, but it's pretty straightforward around the greens. They have no trouble on average getting up and down. Zalatoris, of course, not in the field. He's won here. Abraham Answer, JT loves this place. He's won. Brooks Koepka. We're in the cliff notes. What do we need here? I've got some guys circled. I just got to make. I want you to tell me they're the right kind of guys. What's the model here?
Do we agree that the big three are all playing well right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
good enough to win?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big three are all playing well enough to win. We haven't seen a whole lot of them, right?
Well, the Open, Genesis, Scottish. I mean,
yeah, that feels like a month ago.
Well, that's because you're transfixed on Lucas Glover's story. We need you to turn a page.
Okay.
All right.
Here I am.
So here's my point, right?
All right.
If those three they're ready to roll.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they are. And we've got like $80 million on the line here, which is like 1 week to Bryson and Phil in a 9-hole match. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do to separate yourself against these guys if you are Victor or Xander or Tyrrell Hatton, or if you're one of these, middle tier to elite level guys that are at the top of this odds board that you're looking at right now, and you're prepping for me to go like, do you want Cantlay or Xander? Well, like, who's going to beat these three guys and how are they going to do it? Right. So the one thing I look at, this is a golf course. It's a par 70. Next week, we're going to Olympia Fields North Course, par 70. East Lake, par 70.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe as a PGA professional, there's a difference in the type of player that plays well at a par 70 versus a par 72. And although I know that sounds like 2 strokes makes a big difference, but I mean, 2 strokes in the scoring average at the end of the year could be like 100 places on the PGA Tour, right? Without those extra par 5s that you just blast down there twice and then get up and down and you make 2 or 3 birdies around when you have 4 par 5s and you only have 2 of them, you have to score on the par 4s. And I think that that's the essence of what we're looking at over the next 12 tournament rounds.
Okay.
Over these 3 golf courses. Who can play the best on par 70 golf courses? It shows up in major championships because we keep reducing par and adding length. Well, we don't have a tremendous amount of length over these 3. Olympia Fields is like 7,300 and change, and so is East Lake. But they are par 70. Yeah. And let's just start looking at it now as a 3-week window here. And if you take the top 10 par 70 scorers this year on the PGA Tour, here we go. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Number 10, Rose, Justin Rose. 9, Sung Jae. 8, Keegan. 7, Fitz. 6, Finau. 5, Colin. 4, Hideki. 3, Scotty. 2, Xander. 1, Rory. Okay? So, Rory, Scotty, 1 and 3 on that list. Xander, number 2. No wins this year. What name didn't I say? Rahm sits 11th. He sits 11th there. So if we're going to start to try to pick apart Southwind, it's a fader's golf course, right? Don't make a double bogey. But these guys don't hit it in the water often. So at the end of the day, I think it really comes down to, Travis.
Folks, thanks for being here on Twitter. Read the line. Where'd you go?
I'm still here.
There you are. We just cut out there for a minute. Keep going.
All right. We'll do it live. So at the end of the day, I think you got to be a par 70 scorer to separate yourself. And what does that take?
Par 70, the two additional par fours. Well, you're going to have two more of those distances that I just talked about, right?
Yeah.
Those irons into the greens rather than these little flip wedges. So you need that ball striker.
The par 4 scoring.
Yeah.
Who's the best at that in this field?
Well, you just said Rory, right? Is number one. You just said Rory is.
No, at par 70 scoring, but
par 70. I'm sorry.
But par 4 scoring, it just so happens.
I got it. I have it. Okay, so here's the last 50 rounds. Okay, par 4. Scotty's won. Shocker.
Yeah.
Terrell Hatton.
Ooh.
Actually, Terrell and Scotty are tied in the last 50 rounds. Then it goes Rory.
Okay.
Hovland, Cantlay, Jason Day, Wyndham Clark, John Rahm, Xander.
That's how you distance yourself at this place. You've got to make a lot of birdies on par 4s, which is something that Zalatoris could do because why? He's so good on approach. So he's, like if the putter ever pops with him, just like Lucas is going to hit more greens inside 20 feet than anybody because of the ball striking. The putter hits, you go. So who can do that for us this week?
Lucas is 18th. Or no. Lucas last 50 rounds is 30th. Excuse me, he's 30th.
Yeah, but you're going 50 rounds. Cut that in half and see where you're at. I bet you Lucas is in the top 10.
All right, here we go. Last 12 rounds. Hang tight. Par 4. This is important information, folks. Strokes gained, par 4. Last 12 rounds. Loading.
Number 1.
And Rory McIlroy's 1.
Yeah.
JT Poston is 2. Ben on is 3. Lucas Glover's 4. Look at you.
Come on.
You.
Read the line.
Then it goes Fleetwood and Hatton. I can't bet those two. God bless. You're telling me Tommy Fleetwood's going to win here at this field? No. All right, let's get into this for a second. Let's get in. So we got the top 3. Hold on. We got the top 3. We got Scheffler, Rahm, McIlroy. If you're going to pick one, pick one. You can't take them all. You can't take those 3.
Rory.
All right. Me too. Shocker. Right? Shocker. Well, here's the deal. If Scheffler catches wind and that putter wakes up, it's over.
I mean, he should be renting a house with Lucas Glover, like flat out.
You know what's interesting? Last 5 rounds here, most strokes gained is Hideki and then Rory, and it's a pretty wide margin too. I mean, I mean, all signs are to Rory. That's my guy. I had circled in the big 3, and so I think your input validates that. And right now he is at plus 900. Rahm is plus 900, and Scheffler is plus 650. All right, then you go into the next 2, Cantlay and Schauffele. Can't do it. Not betting either one of those. Cantlay and Schauffele. Right there they are. Our 2 guys have this conversation every time. Elevated event. Not doing it. You?
I like X-Man for this.
You do?
I do, yeah.
You like X-Man to win here?
I do.
Well, no, wait a minute. Schauffele, par 4s.
Yeah.
Par 4s, last 12 rounds, he's 22nd. Proximity in this 175 or 150, 175, 200, middle of the pack. Around the greens, he's at the bottom.
Give me the putter.
Last 12, putter, 10th.
Go a little deeper than 12 rounds. Go 24 rounds. 36 rounds.
Okay.
Xander Schauffele is a great par 70 player. He puts the ball in the fairway, right? And one of the things about Southwind, when we start breaking down the golf course, is that when you start to break up the pockets that they talk about on the putting green, so 0 to 5 feet, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But 5 feet to 10 feet, 10 feet to 15 feet, guys make putts there over the PGA Tour average. So these greens aren't super challenging, and they're only average size 4,300 square feet. I mean, that's like 2/3 the size of the last 2 weeks, right? So those Donald Ross greens are going to look huge compared to these greens, which is why this is such a ball striker's paradise. You get Xander on those greens, the par 4 scoring will be there, the par 70 scoring will be there, and the putter. I mean, here's the thing. You go down that putter list, you're going to get Eric Cole, you're going to get Denny McCarthy. Those guys aren't winning this week. And then all of a sudden Xander's going to pop up. And you're going to go, well, geez, as far as elite ball striking skills, the guy's pretty darn good. And I know he hasn't won this year, but all of those guys see what's in front of them with these designated events, and they see what's happening in 7 weeks. And they will be grinding between now and then. Maybe more so than they have all season. So save Cantley for the BMW for the 3rd year in a row, maybe. I don't know. But down there on Bermuda grass, I don't mind Xander. And I certainly like the type of U.S. Open setup you're going to get at Southwind. Put it in the fairway, put it on the green, small green, put it in the hole, par 4s all day long. I don't mind Xander.
You like Xander over Hovland?
Oh.
I'll take Hovland. You take Xander.
Okay.
All right. So Xander's at 18. I'm taking Hovland.
Where's he at 20?
He's at 20. Yep.
Okay.
Obviously, he knows what he's doing on the par 4, strokes gained par 4. He's right there next to him. Yeah, I think Xander is a better Bermuda putter for sure. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Better
putter overall.
I think so. Yeah, better putter overall. Although I think Hovland's a better player right now.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, those two guys at the top of the board outside the big three are the guys I would feature for sure. 100%.
I think Hovland's the better player right now.
Yeah.
And I think his short game definitely has improved, although I don't think I'd worry about him here too much. The short game feels pretty vanilla here to me. Like I'm not worried. I don't need a Greg Chalmers type of short game here.
Guys are losing shot. Like Zalatoris lost strokes last year around the green, and he still won.
And so did the JT lost strokes putting the year before that. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm taking Hovland. You're taking Xander. I mean, I think in the middle of the board, like I think we would agree that we would take those two over Morikawa.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to go back. I would love to go back to that Ryder Cup discussion and say, who would you take, Bryson or Morikawa on this team? With all that you brought up
right now,
who would you take to go to the Ryder Cup, make putts, put the ball in play, right?
Bryson.
All team chemistry put aside. The point that you brought up earlier really makes me think about it.
Bryson's a way better putter than Morikawa. Way better.
Yeah. And short
game.
Not
even close. Not even close.
100%.
Yeah.
And if they put JT on that team with the way that he rolls the rock, you and I are going to lose our mind.
Oh, I will lose my mind.
Can't happen.
I will lose my mind if JT is on that team.
Can't happen.
No, it can't. It just can't. That's absurd. Come on.
All right. Who's next on the board?
All right. So now we're down to Hatton. I see people talking Hatton up. He's, speaking of putting, that dude makes putts. I can't do it. I mean, I've circled Hovland. I've circled McIlroy here at the top of the board. I'm going to pass on the Hatton Fleetwood train hype and this and that, and Fleetwood's going to get it, and then I'll have a discussion about Ricky Fowler. Right? I'll have a discussion about Ricky Fowler as my third potential to circle. Or are you going to bet Hatton?
No, Hatton's way down the par 70 scoring list.
Okay.
And if you got to pick something and stick with it. Otherwise, you end up with all these cards that are on Twitter all the time have like 9 different names on them. You got to go. I mean, there's got to be something you stick to and you run with it. And I feel like Terrell does a lot of things great. Putting, short game, par 4 scoring. I get all that, but he doesn't seem to put it together on par 70 golf courses. And that's a concern to me. I mean, he's like 40th on that list of the guys in the field.
Ricky Fowler, irons and putter right now at this
Good.
course. Sign me up. I mean, I'm betting Ricky. Already did.
What's the number on Ricky you got there?
Right now, it's down to 33.
I'm going to go a little deeper than that with what I like in that range.
All right. So you like Burns?
Well, there's two guys there that I really like.
Wyndham.
And yeah.
Yep. I knew you were going Wyndham.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wyndham and Burns, to me, just make a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. They make a lot of sense. If we want to go Burns has the course history, Bermuda Burns. But it's not just the Bermuda Burns thing. 3 of his career, 5 wins have come on Innisbrook and Colonial.
Yep.
Positional, Bermuda style golf courses. Got to hit the fairway, got to hit the green. I know the fairway isn't his strong suit, but guess what? I mean, he finished 14th last week. He's eyeing a Ryder Cup spot. He's very focused. And for him to go there, he's got great course history. I think he's like second in strokes gained total career at Southwind. You know, he's very, very strong there because he's a Southern golfer. When it's hot and humid, that guy that's the way he grew up playing golf. That's all he knows. And that grainy stuff, that hot, humid, sticky Champion Bermuda, those Zoysia fairways, when that ball sits up like that, like it does at Sanderson, right? That's not going to throw him off. You know, you're going to see him and Sepp Straka just ripping balls off that Zoysia grass. You know, it's an interesting mix. They're two basically weeds, Zoysia and Bermuda. They're both weeds that grow in that heat and humidity. And they react very differently. When it's in the rough, that ball drops to the bottom because the Bermuda grass, when it's long, has no strength to it. And then when the Zoysia is tight, it props the ball up. So it hits a little higher on the club face when they're hitting from the fairway. I mean, I think just those little details, splitting hairs, right? Picking winners. That to me is a Burns edge. And then everything about Wyndham Clark for me is a win. I think that he wants to be more than a major winner. I think he wants to be top 5 in the world.
Yep.
And I think he's doing all the things behind the scenes. I think that, yeah.
Well, I was going to say on that point, like Justin Thomas made the comment that playing for the Ryder Cup means more than making the playoffs and making that run. And I'm sure the guys at headquarters really appreciated that at this point in time. But yeah, and that's a statement coming from someone who's been there, done all that, right? And he's been through it and this and that. And where Wyndham wins a major championship and like his times now, he wants to go through these experiences and he wants to show the world that and these guys that he is one of the top players on the PGA Tour, and he's got a runway ahead of him that, you know, that is a different kind of it would be a different level of success for him. He hasn't been there and done that like JT has. So I agree. I think he is motivated with Wyndham Clark, and he's probably been him and Brian Harmon because they won the major championship. They're going to be on that team. And there's a lot of discussion where it's, well, that's the only reason why, right? I mean, they haven't been a world-class player up to this point, and we should be looking at JT and this and that. And so look, that can't settle well. You know, that can't settle well for those guys to hear those kinds of things. And I agree. I think Wyndham, I think he'll come out. I think he'll play well. If he won, can you imagine Wyndham Clark 3 wins in the last 3 months? I mean, that's that's unbelievable. If he was able to do that, I think between Clark and Burns, I think Wyndham's a little better player right now. I think has a little more confidence right now. I'm a little bit of a Burns homer. I was encouraged last week. He finished 14th. Burns will struggle with that driver from time to time. He'll spray that driver, and that's what holds him back. His iron game's good enough. His putting's good enough. I think his short game continues to get better. It's just that driver gets a little awkward sometimes. So if he irons that out, if he irons the driver out this week, Keith, I think Burns will be there. I really do.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're not picking 100-1 winner here, right?
Yeah.
So in this middle range where you could put a little meat on your bone, right? These guys are sitting in the mid 3s, and these are 2 really solid plays. Wyndham Clark a year ago, I think he lost strokes gained approach like 7 or 8 tournaments in a row.
Yep.
I mean, the iron game just wasn't there.
Yep.
And now in his last 10, he's gaining over 3 strokes against the field with his iron game. And that's the difference, because the short game and the putter was always there.
Always, yeah.
And you look at this type of golf course, everyone, this is a faders golf course. DJ, Brooks, like all these guys off the tee. They fade it. Berger, right? Won there 2 years in a row. Total fader of the golf ball, right? So the kicker is, everybody remembers at LACC that big banana slice that he hit on the last hole, right? Wyndham Clark fades it. His iron game is solid, and the short game is there. So, all right, here's a question for you, right? Who's player of the year?
Player of the year?
Who's player of the year? It's not determined yet, right?
How many wins does Scheffler have? 1?
2.
He has 2.
2 and a, two ones of players.
Yeah.
Rahm has 4, and he has the Masters. Wyndham has 2.
Yeah.
And a U.S. Open, right? So, yeah, Rahm might be the leader, but if somebody goes on a run here, and that could be Hovland.
Yeah.
It could be, but if somebody wins 2 playoffs and the FedEx Cup and already has a major like Wyndham, guy could be player of the year.
Yeah, it's true.
There's a lot on the table there.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He has a lot to play for and prove. Yeah. And so I think that has a lot of value. I really do. And he's got the game and the confidence right now to do it. I've always thought, I've talked about in the pod, you go back to discussions, I would go out there and watch. I'd watch Wyndham Clark hit the ball. And then I can remember talking about on the pod a couple different times after watching him on the range and saying, how does this guy lose strokes? I don't get it with his irons. And I'll tell you, he was always, he's had a couple different coaches. And then when he went by himself and he said, look, I'm doing this on my own. And I think he grew up a little bit, kind of took some ownership. And oftentimes that's what needs to happen with the players. They need to take ownership in what they're doing. They can lean a little bit on an instructor or a coach too much. And then the accountability is not there and they get frustrated. And I think with Wyndham, when he took it in-house, he just became a different player. I mean, you could just literally see the line and he just took off, kind of towards the end of last year, starting with Zozo. I mean, it was top 20s, and then pretty soon it's top 10s, and then it's a win at Wells Fargo, and then it's a win at the U.S. Open. I mean, it was just like this, where he just took off. So, yeah, I'm gonna bet Burns. All right, so that's kind of where we are there. I bet him last week, and I'm betting him this week, because if I didn't bet him this week and he won, I would be having the same conversation again next week. All right, so here we are. We're coming down. I'm just gonna rip through some names here, then I'll stop. You tell me if you like anybody. Ready?
Okay.
Starting at 40-1, Cameron Young, Jason Day, Tom Kim, Jordan Spieth, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Max Homa, Tony Finau, all 40-1.
Golly, Fitz has great course history there, but he had kind of a fickle July, and he'd be a good fit for that place. I'm not quite convinced. Jordan's got a lot of Bermuda grass wins. There's got to be something to that. He's got a lot to prove right now, Mr. Spieth. You talk about external motivation. Pardon me. I would think it's one of those two guys. For me, my card's probably going to stop with Burns and Clark.
Yeah.
But in that range, those are the guys you just said. Those are the people I'd be most focused on. Course history, grasses, the moment.
Yeah, we're back to this up and down with Spieth again. We're back to these bumpy chartered waters where it's like, oh, he looks good, then he looks bad. Hey, he looks good, then he looks bad. And you go back to April when he was 3rd at Valspar, 4th at the Masters, 2nd at RBC. It was under control. He was 4th at Arnold Palmer, 19th at he had a nice run there about 6 weeks. And then,
yeah.
And now he's missed 4 cuts in his last, 7 events, 23rd at the Open. I don't know. I know it's kind of Spieth. He has a lot to play for. I'm probably going to pass. I'll lean on Fitzpatrick in that group. I'm going to lead on Fitz. He's got the course knowledge here. Yeah. And typical Matthew Fitzpatrick way, all of a sudden he'll go +6 with his irons and he'll win. I mean, that's kind of all of a sudden what he'll do.
Yeah.
He'll labor around, lose a stroke, lose 2 strokes with his iron game, and then all of a sudden, boom, +6 wins. So I'm gonna go with Fitz here. Keep it in front of you. He's gonna keep it in front of you off the tee. Those 2 extra par 4s. He's got a couple top 10s here. That's my guy. Now we get into the 50s. There's your boy Henley. Matsuyama.
Whoa. When's Henley my boy? Come on. Yeah. You could go down a little bit further and you could accuse me of being a Poston homer for the last couple of weeks, but Henley, nah.
God, what is it? I mean, all of a sudden, you're going to win.
It's hard to win. It's hard.
Boogie.
Oh, look at Denny McCarthy. Come on. Every time the guy has focus on him, he misses the cut.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you just go down that part of the list and you got to get after ball strikers on these par 70 tracks. So what, Sepp, the way Ben On's striking the ball right now,
yeah,
and
Ben
that
On's
putter,
playing great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'd be a great, Grillo, Keegan. Keegan's a great par 70 player. Come on.
Yeah, Keegan's interesting. Yeah, I agree. Keegan is definitely interesting. Is definitely interesting here. We talked a lot about JT the last couple of weeks. Poston, not JT isn't Justin Thomas, but JT Poston, and we jumped back on him last week. And I'll tell you what, Poston is playing some beautiful golf right now. Ooh. And probably he's hitting the ball, hitting his irons as well as he has all year right now. And so, dangerous. Can he do enough off the tee? But I'll tell you what, irons, short game and putter, check. Can he, the driver is always JT's issue. Do we go back to him? Because we bet him at 3M, took second. We bet him at Wyndham, took seventh.
Yeah.
I don't think I can bet him here.
I just think it's a little deep now we're getting.
Yeah, I don't think I can bet
with this level of field. Now, I get you. Kurt Kitayama and Wyndham Clark won. But at this point in the season, the big dogs are out. Who were the 3 playoff winners last year, right? Zalatoris, Cantley, Rory.
Oh.
All right. And if it wasn't Rory at the Tour Championship and you went with the Gross division, it was Sungjae, right? So, we're talking, these are elite players at the end of the day. I'm not sure JT, and I've been wrong before. I've said that a million times. But, I mean, if you're talking about a guy, to me, that's iffy with the driver, but a great Bermuda grass putter and player, why aren't we taking Sam Burns versus JT? The hit rate is going to be more often.
I took Burns. Yeah, I agree.
Burns has proven it. So I just think we're just getting a little far down the list for our listeners this week.
Well, you got Hideki at 50, who has a good course record here.
Yeah, but I mean, Hideki has been really shaky lately.
Yeah,
he started well at 3M, and then it just went backwards. And, it was not good last week at Wyndham, and it should have been. I mean, he was an elite player in that field, and it wasn't.
So you go last 36 rounds, you get into strokes gained, ball striking.
Yeah.
Obviously Glover pops.
Sure.
He's a guy that you could go back to. We talked about that. I mean, that's Corey Connors, is going to pop. Strokes gained, ball striking.
Yeah.
But I don't think Corey Connors wins in this field. Alex Smalley's your highest number on the board. He's 10th.
Missed cut last week.
Missed the cut last week. We bet him. Yeah, I panned out real well.
Not me.
Yeah, you kind of looked at me weird when I said it.
I just the Smalley, McCarthy, all these guys, we just keep putting wins in their.
Well, I'm not going to bet. Yeah, I'm not going to bet. I'm not betting Smalley here. I'm not betting McCarthy here.
No, in these weaker field, in these middle tier events, right? And it's just winning's just hard. And you got a guy like Lucas Glover that had this incredible trip. Let me look at Billy Horschel.
Yeah.
He's a FedEx Cup winner. He knows what it's like to play good this time of year and press himself and put the work in, right? It's tough to win, man. It's so hard to win.
I'll tell you another guy that I'll take it down this far. I think Straka will get some play. Obviously, he's he's been on a pretty good run, and he's not
Yeah.
afraid to win. No, you've shed some light on Cam Davis over the last month. He's playing some nice golf, and I think Cam Davis kind of took things in house too. His longtime coach in Australia. I know they're not working together anymore. I'm not sure exactly who he's working with, but you look at his last 4 outings. He's got 3 top 20s in there. Missed a cut at the Genesis, but he's driving the ball nice. I think his iron game is trending very nicely. His putting is above water. I don't think he'll win, but I do think it's worth noting that Cam Davis is on the rise, and I think there's something there with him. Like there always has been. We've talked a lot about him this year. I think early in the year when he had all those missed cuts, it was like 5 missed cuts. He had some kind of illness. They kind of kept it under wraps, and then he kind of got his strength back up and playing. And then as he's kind of gotten comfortable here through the summer, taking some things in house, there's a maturation happening here in front of me. I can't put my finger quite on it. I can just see it. I can sense it that Cam Davis is going to be a very nice player on the PGA Tour here, I think, for the next couple of years. I mean, this is a guy that is impressive and has a lot of great qualities about his game. In particularly, I think a really nice driver of the ball, and I think has a tall ceiling with the iron game, and I think is starting to match up now. Just kind of learning how to like keep rounds going. Don't make silly mistakes like Justin Suh last week. God bless America. 5 under through 10 and misses the cut. Get out of here.
It's hard to do,
Jesus.
Hey, speaking of God bless America, right? Look at this list at the bottom of the board, right? Look at this list. Now, all right? Come on. Bo Hostler, all right? Eric Cole. That's a guy I would root for this week. Alex Smalley. We have bet Alex Smalley more times this year than we've bet JT. And here's my point, right? Keith Mitchell, Brendan Todd. Look at these guys that are in the top 70, and JT couldn't get in here. Mark Hubbard, the homeless wonder. Matt Kuchar's been in he's the only guy left when Scott got cut this year. He's the only guy that's played in every single FedEx Cup playoffs since 2007. Matt Kuchar, right there. I mean, look at these names. Sam Ryder. I mean, those commercials, you got to stop. Matthew Neesmith made it in. Taylor Montgomery hasn't seen a top 10 in like 6 months, and he's in the top 70. And we're talking about JT on this Ryder Cup team.
Sam Stevens,
right?
Taylor Montgomery. I didn't think he's been playing the last
Well, he doesn't play on the weekend anymore. But the point being is this: like, people are arguing over putting JT.
I know
on a top 12, right? And he can't make that top 70. There's 50 American guys on that list.
I know
that he couldn't beat. I feel bad for the guy because, like Ricky and Jordan and some of the other guys that have slumped, it's just maybe not his time. And I know it means a lot to him, but man, oh man, look at those names.
Yep.
I mean, part of what we're trying to do on a Tuesday is entertain. And that's an entertaining list at the bottom there. When you start to think about a guy that up until last year was top 10 on the PGA Tour for like 7 or 8 straight years in strokes gained approach.
Yep.
He went back-to-back years winning a Players and a PGA Championship. And he can't get in the top 70. I mean, another big deal this week, a lot of guys were talking about top 70. Yeah, we were talking about Lowry or JT because of Ryder Cup concerns. But I don't think that many guys in that 55 range were really worried as much about top 70 as you're going to see pressure this week to get in that top 50. Because the top 50 is the designated status, right? So this week, those 20 that are getting cut, if a guy like Sam Stevens makes it in the top 50, imagine that guy's career. Or somebody in that, Cam Davis. He knows he's in all the designateds, at least a majority of them next year.
Right.
I mean, that's killer right now. To get to the BMW, these next 20 that get cut are way more significant than the 55 that just got cut. There's no way that any of those 55, like the ones we talked about all week, JT or whatever, they play in the fall, they'll be in the top 125. They're back up and running. Come the Sony next year, everything's great, right? But to get that top 50, top 30, even the next week. You play at every major as long as you tee it up at Atlanta, right? As long as you tee it up, Taylor Gooch. But if you make a top 30, then you get in the majors. I mean, there's a lot going on here right now.
So Alex Smalley's at his 51st right now on the bubble. If we can get him to Chicago next week, we can bet him. So you got Dietrich, you got Montgomery at 53. Davis Riley is 54.
He won this year. I mean, it was a partners event, but he won.
All right.
You know,
Hubbard. You taking Hubbard or Justin Thomas on the Ryder Cup?
Neither. To answer your question from earlier, when I gave you that whole lead in.
Hey, good call on Sam Stevens, because earlier in the year, that was a guy that you brought up and we had some discussion on. And to see him 64th, he's done a lot of good this year. Jesus, Naismith is 67. Where has he even played in a tournament in the last 3 months? God bless.
I mean,
JT's 71. Come on, JT. You don't deserve to be on the Ryder Cup. That's just the bottom line. I like Justin Thomas. The bottom line is he doesn't deserve it. And to sit here and have a conversation about these guys that made it and he didn't, and then to even question, like, okay, JT's would be better than Bryson. Come on, give me a break. Bryson is doing laps around JT right now. That's just the bottom line.
We've gone off the rails from the odds board, so let's just completely go there, right? You got to give me a guy, even if Bryson's not a part of the conversation. You've got Max, you got Cam Young, Jordan, Keegan, Colin, Sam Burns. That's your next 6. Then you got Ricky, and then you got JT. So you got to leave a couple guys off that list to get JT on there? Who's coming off? Who's coming off?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'd like to see. I'm excited to watch Ricky. Going this way right now. Got his win on this year. Going this way in the playoffs. All the confidence in the world. Everything's back in front of him. He's been on the bottom. Irons, putter. I bet Ricky this week to win.
You could pair me with Ricky in the Ryder Cup anytime. We're getting matching water bottles. Whatever he's drinking, I'm drinking. That's it. I'm telling you. I mean, come on. That guy makes putts, and look what he's fought his way through in the last 24 months.
So you're not going any lower. You talked about Wyndham and Burns, but you would maybe go as far as like 80-1 Keegan Bradley, maybe. No, not in this field.
No, not in this field.
Yeah,
honestly,
Keegan or Cam maybe, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I mean, I sprinkled a little on Fitzpatrick. That's as low as I'm going.
I mean, you mentioned 2 names there. I could just as easily substitute Poston and Griot, and they've played better recently. And it's just like that's a huge thing to overcome, and the playoffs, the designated events, this is a different level. And this isn't like Kurt Kitayama sliding in at API, again, you said it earlier. Jordan was there in the top 3. Rory was there in the top 3. Kurt played well the final day. He got across the finish line. God bless him, but the guys that were stacked behind Wyndham at Wells, Xander, that whole crew, there is going to be a list of names that we all know that's going to be sitting there at Southwind, and I'll be happy to hit a 35-1 on with another Wyndham win or Burns gets fired up, and torches the place, right. So
all right, that's it. That's where we're at. That's the FedEx St. Jude Championship, TPC Southwind top 50. On to Olympia Fields next week. We'll be here on Tuesday.
I'll be in Olympia Fields.
Keith Stewart. That's right. At Read the Line, coming live from Olympia Fields next week. So don't miss that.
Can't wait.
On a Tuesday. All right, good stuff as always. Best of luck, Alex Smalley, getting that top 50. I want to put some money in you next week. All right, see you.